Hey everyone, thought that I would make another video today since it is my day off from work, which does not happen very often. And I just hit kind of a major milestone for me so far, which is that my dad was coming over this morning to help me fix something in my apartment, and I decided that I would take this opportunity to come out to him as a transgender person. Um, So, I knew I was really nervous going into it, just because it's something new, and I have anxiety. So, my dad has been nothing but great my whole life. He's just one of the most kindest, most compassionate people. When I came out to him as gay, he's shown me nothing but love, support, and enthusiasm to make sure that I can be as involved with my community as I want to be. He's always offered to take me to Pride festivals. He sends me links to all these great LGBTQ things that are going on in my town. He's one of the best allies that I know, and just one of the best all-around people that I know. And so I really wanted to come out to him first, just so that I could have, because I knew I was going to have a really good experience with him, and I did. Nothing terrible happened. I was really nervous going up to it, mostly because I had tried to get him to come over so that I could come out to him last week, and our schedules didn't end up working out. So I really amped myself up, and I was like, we're gonna come out, gotta tell my dad I'm trans, we're gonna do this, man to man, here we go. And then he was like, I can't make it, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna dissipate my nervous energy now. So we came over this morning, we had a cup of coffee, and just kind of talked about some other stuff, and then I said, I think you have a son and a daughter instead of two daughters. And then I actually walked out of the room because I was nervous to go put some cream in my coffee, and it was fine. And he just asked me if it was going to be offensive if he still called me hun, around the house, because he's always love you, hun, and stuff like that. Because he grew up in a large family, and he was like, I always got called hun, it never bothered me, but I don't know, because your situation is different than mine, if that might make you a little uncomfortable. Which it hasn't. My thing is, as long as you're referring to me with respect and with compassion, I'm not going to get that upset. If somebody is maliciously misgendering me or using my dead name and stuff like that, I'm going to have a problem with that. But for day-to-day language, as long as you're being respectful of me, I'm not going to get upset about that. Everybody's just doing their best out here. So, it's fine. I get it. Slip-ups happen. He's been talking the same way for 50 years. So we went to Home Depot, and we had to fix my toilet this morning. So that is my big experience, and I'm just still really jazzed about that because I love my dad a whole lot, and neither of us cried, which was good, but I just feel really surrounded by love and support right now. I'm not sure when I'm gonna work up the courage to come out to my mom face-to-face, because she's a little bit more intimidating than my dad. Even though she's shorter than me and shorter than everybody else in our family, but she's kind of fierce in her own way, and I am a little bit more scared of her than I am my dad. So we'll get up to that eventually. But for now, I'm just feeling really good about the steps that I've made today, and I'm going to just celebrate this little victory and just enjoy being myself, because it felt really, really good to just, for once in my life, be authentic and have that be met with just love. So the other thing that I've been asked about is to share some of my light bulb moments as to when I it really hit me that I was transgender. And to that I say I actually have a lot. I feel really in touch with both my masculinity and my femininity. I think that there are great qualities to both, and I take great pride in having both of these aspects to my personality. And so a lot of the time growing up, I really didn't feel super out of place, because I was enjoying a lot of the experiences that I was having, but something was just not right. And so for me, there was a lot of little flags, and then about 2 years ago, I started really questioning my gender identity. Personally, I didn't share it with anyone because I wasn't really sure if this was who I was, and maybe I was just experimenting, which is fine. I totally, and now as an adult, I'm everybody should be experimenting with their gender, but as an anxious high schooler that had already come out as queer in a really small town, I was this is a little much. We're gonna pump the brakes on this one. But I do keep a journal. It's really helpful for me to, like, keep all my thoughts down. And so one of the things that I did was write down a list of things to look at whenever I am feeling really dysphoric and really just like I don't belong, and that things are never going to be the way that I want them to be. I'm never going to have that, like, mind-body connection and stuff like that, which is just not true. So I wrote this little thing. It's called Things to Remember When You Don't Feel Trans Enough. So I thought that I would just read some of these little things that kind of were part of my personality but make so much more sense to me now. Like, looking back, I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, you're a trans kid. Like, so one of them is that at my very first job that I ever had, I worked at a grocery store, and I had a short haircut. It wasn't like this, it was a little more feminine, but it was still pretty short. And I worked the front end, and there was a lot of old people that would come through my line, and they would, like, sir me a lot, even though, like, the grocery store that I was working at had V-necks, like, mandatory V-necks for the girls, and then, like, button-up polos for the guys. So, like, I was wearing, like, the girls' uniform, and I would still get, like, sir all the time, but it never made me mad. If anything, it made me feel a little taller. Like, I walked with a little bit more confidence. And I never really knew why. I figured it was just, like, doing something different, like, you know, change is good, and then I just realized that I'm just so much more comfortable whenever I'm viewed as masculine. I really like handsome. Like, I would always remember compliments where people would call me handsome over ones where they would call me, you know, like, more stereotypically feminine compliments. I always latched onto the ones that were more masculine in language and intonation and just general intention, just because they meant a lot more to me. One of the biggest flags was that sometimes I would get out of the shower and look at myself in the mirror, and it would just feel wrong in the pit of my stomach. Like, I wasn't really sure why. I just knew that I couldn't look at the mirror anymore, that I needed to just focus and, like, get dressed and then go back about my day and, like, get my brain on something else, because if I dwelled on that, it was just going to make me feel worse. But it was just this horrible, sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, looking at my chest. I have most of my dysphoria around my chest. I know that I don't have the biggest, like, cup size or whatever, but it has been a pretty consistent, sometimes it'll just hit me. A lot of days I'm fine, and then some days I'll look in the mirror and I just feel like, you know, nobody's going to see anything other than my chest. So that was one of the biggest red flags, and I didn't really have a word for that. I didn't know what dysphoria was. I've been, like, feeling that sick feeling in the pit of my stomach since, like, 6, 8, like, you know, very young, before I knew what transgender was, before I knew that there were words for the feelings that I was feeling, that there was a community that could help me work through this. So I ended up doing a lot of it on my own and just kind of filing under, like, things that I didn't understand, things that, like, didn't quite line up with how I thought that I was supposed to be perceived. So that's one. And then, I've always wanted, like, a flatter chest. Like, when I'm not dysphoric, even when I'm not dysphoric and I feel fine, I would always be, like, pulling at my chest, or, like, trying to imagine, or, like, unfocusing my eyes a little bit so that I could, like, not see the shadows underneath my chest and stuff like that, and kind of, like, imagine what I would look like as a guy. Like, a traditional, like, you know, cis guy. So that was one that I've been doing for years and never once stopped to think, like, oh, wow, like, maybe I should make some steps to get this body that I've been, like, fantasizing about having forever, instead of just doing that for an hour after I get out of the shower. So that's one. And then my dress style, when left to my own devices, has always been more masculine. You know, I wear the crew socks pulled up. You know, God, if I could wear cargo shorts without being, like, mercilessly mocked by my friends, I so would. A lot of stuff like that. So my style has always been more, my energy has always been a lot more masculine to me, and so when I was in 2nd grade, I found out about, like, lesbians, and, like, gay men and lesbians, and I was like, oh, okay, well, like, I know I like girls, so, like, that must be why I'm feeling terrible, and so I identified as a lesbian when I was in the 2nd grade, which is, like, mad early, and then I forgot, and I blocked that out. Compulsory heterosexuality has a funny way of doing things. So I blocked that out, and then came out as bi in high school. And then I never really came out as a lesbian. I just didn't want to, like, be involved with men anymore because it was making me feel really dysphoric. Like, I would look at them and I would just, like, want to look like them. I didn't really want to be with them. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that just means that, like, I must be gay. So now I'm actually going through a second phase of questioning my sexual orientation now that I understand where a lot of that aversion was coming from. It was just that I was comparing myself to guys needlessly. Yeah. So a lot of it's still very much ongoing. You know, I feel like I've made a lot of breakthroughs in recognizing a lot of the habits and mannerisms and personality traits and just who I am growing up, and realizing that might make sense a little bit more as I'm here, but I might look back on this video in a year and be and not even recognize who I am. I hope I don't. I hope I change so much in a year that I don't recognize who I am. That's what I want to be. I want to continuously evolve and grow and change as a person. I don't ever want to hit a point where I can look back and think that I've stayed stable. I mean, stability is good. Don't get me wrong. Love me some stability. But in terms of personal growth and pushing myself and trying to understand myself, getting to know myself on every single level, I've been really getting in touch with my body physically. I know that sounds super sexual, but just listening to what my body needs instead of thinking that I know what my body needs based on society's expectation. Because a lot of it was I did present very feminine. I joined a sorority. Because I thought that if I maybe could measure up to society's standard of what womanhood should be like, then maybe I would feel more at home in my body, and that just was never the case. So eventually, I just got really, really tired of compromising my unspoken desires and what I wanted to do with my life and what I wanted to look like and be like and feel like. And then I got so tired of that. It is so tiring to pretend to be somebody that you're not every single day, even unconsciously. I didn't realize that I was suppressing all of this different facets of myself until I decided to stop. And let me tell you, it feels so freeing. I feel totally free to be myself. I feel like the sky's the limit. I can do anything that I want to do. Obviously, I can't do some things. Maybe someday I could become president. Who knows? I think that sounds like a terrible job, but clearly anyone can do it. I digress. So, I guess what I'm saying is listen to yourself, first and foremost. And just treasure everything that your body and your mind and your spirit is telling you. Because it's important. I suppressed a lot of that for a really long time, and I wish that I hadn't. Because I think that I might be a little bit more comfortable with myself. I might have a little less anxiety. I might have a little less insecurity about my body had I started practicing self-love from a much, much younger age. So to anyone out there that's watching this, thinking that they don't fit a certain stereotypical mold, there is no mold that you are going to fit except the one that is you. You're already perfect. You just need to embrace yourself and start celebrating yourself in any moment that you can. I know to be happy all the time is a bunch of bullshit, and we can't all be sunshine and rainbows all the time, but you gotta make peace with yourself and just celebrate yourself because you're pretty awesome. Alright, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching again, guys. See you later.